Mana TV International, and TV5. Today is a special day again. As you know, things are not really working out good for the non-immigrants in this country. A country of immigrants, a country that has given wings to immigrants. Something is still not working right for the non-immigrants who are high-skilled, people who are on H1 visa, people who are on non-immigrant visas, people who are doing researches. When the COVID came, COVID has distorted the whole image and the perception about the immigrant community. And what has happened is President Trump came up with a proclamation to ban certain non-immigrant visas. A ban holds good till 31st of December, but with this ban, a lot of lives have got held back. Lot people's future, the future of a lot of immigrants, non-immigrants have got stuck, basically they have got stuck in India. So the future is getting held back there. They had their houses here, their kids were studying here. Somebody went to India, somebody went to some other country to attend some funeral, say, to, get into some professional, assignments, or to do some other things which are related to family functions and all. And suddenly COVID came and suddenly everything happened and this ban came. Now they cannot come back to the United States of America. Most of them have their houses here. Most of them are losing their jobs now because they are on a non-immigrant visa and they have to be employed altogether. But when they are away from here, the employer cannot hold them back here. Situation is tight and grim. And to solve this, we thought of speaking to somebody who's an expert in the legal field. Maybe the litigation can be a route to seek justice for them. And that's what the focus of today's program is, about seeking justice for the H4 and H1B non-immigrants who have got stuck because of this presidential ban. They have got stuck outside the country, outside the USA, and they want to come back. To speak on that, we have an esteemed guest with us. His name is attorney Jonathan D. Wasden. He is a litigation attorney, and Jonathan is an administrative procedures APA litigation attorney focusing on business immigration issues. His practice blends expertise in Immigration and Nationality Act, Administrative Procedures Act, Separation of Powers Doctrine, and Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Jonathan began his career as a trial attorney in the US Air Force, appearing in over 50 criminal trials in 6 years. He then joined the US Department of Justice, Civil Division, Office of Immigration, Litigation District Court Section, where he defended immigration regulations and decisions under the APA. He traveled extensively and litigated cases in 17 district courts and 3 circuit courts across the country. His last position in government was with the Administrative Appeals Office, AAO, focusing on employment-based legal issues and advising on litigation in these areas. And then Jonathan changed his career. Now he works in the private practice, consulting with clients on strategies to overcome immigration denials and appealing cases in federal court under the APA. He lives in the Washington, D.C. area with his family and is still a member of the US Air Force Reserve. John, warm welcome to you, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you.
We are so thankful to you for all the work you have done till date, be it the case that you represented the IT Surveillance and other organizations where humongous H1B denials were happening because of employer-employee relationship and other situations, and you won it so nicely, I mean, in such a major way that people's lives are getting easy here. People who are on H1B here, the rejections have reduced to a major extent.
Yeah, the actual employees' lives have been benefited quite a bit. Just cases that are in litigation, there's been over 1,000 cases of people whose visas were denied and who were faced with having to leave the United States who are now allowed to stay. And then on the employer side, the employers they're on track to save millions and millions of dollars in attorney's fees and also the filing fees that they had to pay to the agency because of the changes that were brought about as a result of this lawsuit. So it's a real testament to the American legal system, how when you see something that's completely wrong or broken that the government's doing, how you can address that and push back in the court and actually see a real substantive change that benefits people's lives.
Right. Thank you. I mean, it's a great work, and we need somebody with, strong willpower and gut. Nobody, no easy person can do it. I mean, you're taking a tussle with the administration. You're fighting against the administration, and I mean, it's like you were by the side of USCIS once upon a time, where you were representing the USCIS, fighting for them. And now you are on the other circle, other side of this, this thing. So how do you feel?
So it is kind of funny because we're a relatively small law firm, but we have 3 former government attorneys who all worked in the same office defending these cases in federal court. And we are basically opposing 200 or 300 government attorneys across the country on these issues.
Wow.
So it's been very entertaining, and it's been very rewarding to get results that we've been getting when you look at the mismatch in resources that we've got versus the government has. So it's been a lot of fun.
You are an open encyclopedia, I must say. It's not a mismatch. The experience that you have accumulated over the years, you are a one-man army, John. I'm pretty sure there.
Well, there's 3 of us now, so it's a 3-man army in our firm.
That's more than merrier. And that to all experts from the field, they have dealt with the government, here.
Yeah.
So now with this, I was very interested to talk to you when you spoke about this new litigation where you are trying to, help out the people who got stuck outside, USA, who are on H4 and H1B visa, and, this COVID came and this proclamation came. So first of all, I would like you to please throw some light on this presidential proclamation, any revisions that have happened, and what's happening exactly with this non-immigrant category, and who are the people impacted now?
Sure. So the whole thing started with the president's ban on immigrant visas being issued by the State Department.
Mm-hmm.
And in that was a paragraph that said, within the next 30 days, we want proposals from the agencies for how they can limit non-immigrant visas.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent back their proposals to the administration, to the White House, and then the White House came out with this new executive order proclamation, which has a lot of has some very overt and plain problems that are going to be damaging to people, along with some hidden nuggets that could potentially be very, very bad for the H1B community, especially those that have approved I-140s and labor certs. So that what the ban does immediately is prohibits the consulates abroad from issuing non-immigrant visas in certain categories.
Mm-hmm.
And the basis for this decision is not because they're afraid of the spread of COVID. It's not a public health concern.
Right.
It's not, about infectious diseases. They couch it solely in the terms of protecting United States workers' jobs. Mm-hmm. So the curious thing is, when you have so many H1Bs who already have approved I-140s and labor certifications, they've already gone through a pretty rigorous and extensive test of the U.S. labor market and conclusively shown that there are no U.S. workers willing, available, and capable of doing these jobs. So the president's proclamation trying to get rid of these people because they're a threat to the U.S. economy is really going against the law as it exists in the U.S. right now. And so I think that's one area where we've got some good traction to fight back on. The other is, if this is a proclamation that is not focused on public health, this is a proclamation focused on protecting U.S. workers' jobs, how is that goal accomplished by keeping out young children who are H4s who are stranded out of the country that have to go back to school in the fall?
Absolutely.
how is that goal accomplished by keeping out spouses on H4 that aren't working? So there's a lot of problems. And then the next issue is even H4s with EADs. As recently as 2015, the government, through a series of reports, acknowledged the positive economic impact created by H4s having employment authorization documents. So everything that the president is doing, this proclamation, explicitly contradicts U.S. law, and it explicitly contradicts findings of these same administrative agencies that show that these visa categories don't take jobs, they actually generate economic activity and benefits for the country.
Right.
So I think we have a lot of avenues of attack, especially in US law. You can't create a policy or a rule that has the impact or disproportionate impact on a certain group of people. It's called the Equal Protection Clause. The law should apply equally to all the people. And if you look at the way that this travel ban or this visa ban is being implemented, it's really impacting nationals from one country. And
absolutely. It's a majority of Indians there, because that's the segment here.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of unfortunate things to discuss on, of course, we'll talk about.
Exactly. So what we're looking to do is bring a lawsuit on behalf of only Indian nationals who are H1Bs or H4s who are stranded outside of the country, and bring those legal theories to bear. We're looking to do a very, very targeted lawsuit on people's. A lot of folks, when they challenge a government or a presidential proclamation or a government policy, they'll try and make this a very, very broad attack, invalidating the entire document. In theory, that's great, but in practice, it's very difficult to convince a judge to invalidate an entire program or an entire document. But if you can narrow it down into a very, very targeted attack, it's much easier for the judge to kind of understand the issues and see why the policy is invalid as applied to these people. So that's our goal with this case, is to limit the issues to a very, very small set. And if we're successful in this first round, then we will expand it to other visa categories as well in other rounds.
This is very unfortunate. There were people who went to see their dying parents, who went to attend a funeral of a parent. I mean, most of the people on these visas, H1B visa, they're reluctant to leave this country because they know the hassle that comes in their life with visa stamping. Despite being on the right project, working with a client and having everything safe and sound, there are cases, most of the people would get 221G, and of course, rejections also happen. There have been cases where people have not been to India for last 5, 7, 8, 9 years. I know personally a person who has not been to India for last 9 years, just because he's scared of getting H1B stamping done. Such is the fear. And why is it so inhuman? The community is contributing financially. They're paying taxes in this country. They're innovating. They're high skilled. They're strengthening the economy here in one way or other. The technology is being strengthened. And this is what is the fate. And then comes the hatred, where, of course, you as a litigation expert should speak that most of the American people, the public, thinks that H1B community is stealing their jobs. I would want some inputs from you to give a clarification.
So the Department of Labor's data on this is pretty clear, and it's not equivocal, especially when you combine that with the Department of Education's data. We have a constantly decreasing population of US-born kids getting degrees in computer science, getting degrees in engineering, getting degrees in things that matter.
Right.
Too many US kids avoiding hard classes with math, getting degrees in soft social sciences where there's really no jobs.
Right.
And that's not up for debate. That's very clear that all the government numbers bear that out.
So, John, I will, there is one call. I'm interrupting you in between. So I'll take this call and take a question. Hello, please share your name and ask the question. Hello.
Hey, my name is Sampath. Hello, my name is Sampath.
Hi, Sampath.
I would like to thank you and Jonathan. Thank you so much for taking and raising a voice on behalf of all legal immigrants. So thank you very much and fighting for us. I just wanted to raise a voice like, yeah, we all are struggling in so much pressure and everything, and being a COVID situation, even the government actually putting everyone of us into a stressful mind. And day to day, we all are like in a panic mode, like what happens to us. Even we are legally immigrants, and still we are in this stressful thing. So only thing I would like to request on behalf of everyone, like there is a human race, like you shouldn't, anyone shouldn't give any stress to any other person, even at least in this COVID time. So as a human beings, let us all like live in a land where it is like peace of mind at least. And we actually, legal immigrants, we are giving so much fetching to the government in a lot of ways. Like even none of legal immigrants are allowed, means like the economy would definitely go down, at least by some percentage. So we being here is always fetching, and we are struggling for our green card, all these things. And on top of it, actually restricting so many people and all around the world, like stranded people are there. Like in India, we have a lot of stranded legal immigrants. They couldn't come and be here with their family, or children not able to go to school. So these are a lot of aspects there. So I really thank Wasden for fighting for us, and hopefully we all see a limelight, and hopefully we all see better days in coming future.
Thank you so much, Sampath, for your warm message. And yes, we are thankful to John for taking this fight for this community, and he's been always vocal. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
So John, there are people who love you, for the good work that you're doing. And honestly, yes, as we were talking, when you were talking about, yes, these are the kids, who are doing good, these H4 kids, and this class. Yes, sorry, you can continue now.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, so we were talking about whether or not H1Bs or H4s take US jobs. And what is very clear according to all the government data is that there is a decreasing population in US colleges of US born kids getting degrees in things that matter. And you look at the H1B community, it's almost overwhelmingly people who have master's degrees in engineering, computer science, info systems. And those are positions that would go unfilled or would be outsourced overseas if they weren't being done by H1Bs here in the country. So when you look at the economic activity generated by an H1B visa holder, they're in the US, they're buying cars, they're buying homes, they're paying taxes, they're paying Social Security taxes, Medicare. They're contributing into the US economy disproportionately to what the US economy has given them. We didn't pay for their education. We didn't pay for anything, but they're paying us. So it really doesn't make any sense why this current president is targeting this community.
I feel somewhere President Trump has not been briefed correctly. Somewhere the channels of communication in his administration have not communicated everything to President Trump. He is a patriot. He loves his country. He wants to do good for his country. But somewhere he's missing the links where the real contributors are being sidelined.
So the personalities within the administration are very interesting. Jared, or I always call him Jared Miller, but Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is very much anti-immigrant, and he seems to have the president's ear on immigration policy matters. And it's not too far of a stretch to say that he's basically a neo-Nazi. So it's not a stretch to say that anymore. I think it's pretty conclusive that the guy is a white supremacist. And that's where the president's advice is coming from. And that's the problem. So luckily, his crazy is counteracted by the US court system, who is progressively invalidating the Trump administration's immigration changes. It seems like every week you hear about one more, case where a big chunk of the Trump administration's anti-immigration policies have been invalidated by a court. So it's, for me as a lawyer, who's somebody who works in the legal field, it's encouraging and it's nice to see the courts standing up and doing their job and protecting the law. And it's a hard fight, but I'm glad that we have the system that we do to protect our interests.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we feel lost here. Now, with this part, okay, when we speak about this segment who's got stuck here, you gave the guidelines where they should fill in the DS-160. And if they were to reach, okay, you are creating a whole database here. How much, what is the timeline for the whole process? How does it go about when you go into litigation about these people, representing them? Please guide us on that.
Sure. So normally when you do litigation against the federal government, you file what's called a complaint, and the complaint starts your lawsuit. And in a normal case, the government has 60 days to respond to that complaint. And what that means is they come back into court and let the court know if they're going to settle the case or defend the case. You have the option of pursuing an emergency motion for relief called a preliminary injunction, which is what we'd be doing in this case. So we file the complaint along with the preliminary injunction, and the government has 14 days. They have 14 days to come in and explain their side of the case and how they believe they're legally justified in doing this. And then it goes to the judge for a decision. So we should, in a perfect world, we should have a decision within a month or a month and a half of initiating the case.
Okay. Month and a half, that's pretty quick. I mean,
in litigation,
not anything moving like that.
Yeah, it's incredibly quick in litigation.
Very nice. So this is a category you're beginning with. We're speaking about H4s and H1Bs. And if things fall in the right place, would you be contesting for other people as well, other categories?
Yeah, we would definitely expand. Why we've targeted the H1s and the H4s is we believe the structure of the law in the US and also the government reports related to H1s and H4s specifically give us really favorable legal arguments. And having worked for a judge once upon a time in my life and having worked in the government, I'm very cognizant of how your case is benefited by making it as simple as possible. Because this will be the first time the judge has ever dealt with any of these visa issues, most likely, because it's not a common topic in litigation. So if we start throwing at the judge L visas, H visas, J visas, H2s, the judge is going to get confused or overwhelmed. So we want to just spoon feed the court what really matters to the group of people that are impacted the most by this policy.
And you're positive there, like in 1.5 months, something positive has to come.
Well, ideally, 1.5 months would be ideal. Because the issues involved and the harm being sustained by those that are outside of the country is so significant. I would anticipate that we would get a very quick turnaround.
Thank you. Another question for people who have got stuck. If I mean, they have visa stamped. They don't have a visa which is stamped. Okay, H4 and H1. That's why they are stuck. Now, supposedly they have a B1 visa stamped, which is still valid. Does it work for them to come back to the country because they're paying rent or they're paying mortgages or they have their house and everything, even if to settle down everything, or I don't know. I mean, whatever way, if something emergent comes or there is a family member who has a health condition who is here, like supposedly H4 is here in this country, H1B's got stuck. Now he wants to come and help his family. Supposedly his wife is or kid is in a dire situation where they need medical help and everything, and they need their, family member, head of the family there. So in that situation, does it work that those people can come through another visa which is stamped in the passport?
So every case is going to be different. So, as lawyers, we're always reluctant to give blanket legal advice to people like that. So I would say you're best to contact, whoever the immigration attorney is in the US that you've been using and go through the specifics of your case. The one thing I would say is that if you come in on a B1, you can't work until you have a change of status approved. So, the rules on converting a B1 into an H1 or for change of status are tricky. So you'd really want to consult with your immigration attorneys to make sure that you're doing everything right and you're not going to expose yourself to any problems in the future.
Agreed. I mean, this is a dire situation. This is a situation where people are losing hope. And this is something, it is COVID, first of all. Already life is at stake. People are dying. People are, getting into this infection. And it's not just here. India is in miserable state right now with, a lot of people falling sick as well and dying now. And at the same time, US also is not pretty good picture. It has just unfortunately so happened that it was sudden proclamation. Embassies are closed. Now they cannot come. And shouldn't there be any humanitarian ground where appeal should be placed that these people should be let in other than the litigation?
Yeah, in a perfect world, yes. In the way the current system is set up, unfortunately, it's not a perfect world. So
right.
we have limited options available, and even the way that the law is structured, our options in litigation against the State Department overseas is limited. So this is one area where we think we can prevail against the State Department and avoid some of those legal barriers to suing them because of the way this executive order was rolled out.
Okay.
Yeah, in a perfect world, there would be some type of expedited humanitarian processing, but even when you look at what the current administration is doing, they're trying to get rid of asylum and refugees and those are the people that need the most protection. So I don't think humanitarian concerns are high on the current administration's list.
All right. Thank you for that answer. We are still looking for hope. Well, John, I have a caller right now. Hello. Please share your name and ask the question or the message.
Hello, this is Aditya Gupta. My question is related to the lawsuit that Jonathan is working on. My question is, my wife had left and she has got stuck in India. So we were planning on having our stamping done together. So we had filed the DS-160 together. Should I be filing a new DS-160 since she would be stamping alone if things were to work out?
So if you both have a DS-160 on file, you should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other question?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So people have already filed DS-160s. Yeah, true. That is also true, right? Yeah. Interesting. Important point, right? There are people who are waiting for their interviews and everything, and they've got stuck. So they can share their DS-160 now, and they have also paid fees rather, because what had happened is people paid the fees. They might have got the dates as well. Now everything is closed, so fees is lying there. DS-160 is in place.
And you also have a lot of people who their employers, like for a cap H1B, an initial H1B, they went through the lottery. Their employers have paid incredibly large fees to the government.
Right.
And then the government is saying, thanks for your money, but you can't come. So there's something about that that's inherently wrong that I think people can recognize as somewhat shady and, dishonest in the current administration. So I think our biggest ally in this fight is the administration's dishonesty. And I think the courts are seeing that on a regular basis. And that's why the immigration bar in general is having good results suing the government.
So you mean to say those people who file for the new H1Bs, the new lottery that came in, right? And this is the category who would be waiting for their stamping now. Are you representing that mass as well?
If they have an approved H1B and they filed a DS-160, can't include them. Their case, their individual case, is not as attractive, shall we say, as somebody, let's say, who has 10 years here in the country, an approved I-140 and an approved labor cert. Those people have much more substantial ties. So those people with the approved labor certs are going to be the lead plaintiffs. They're going to be the ones that we focus the most attention on.
I mean, we would also want you to represent. I mean, I personally, if I were to speak from my, perception was, you should represent people who are here in this country already, and then who have gone out for some reasons, and now they've got stuck. Primarily, should be filed for them. People who have not come, it's okay to the extent. I'll take this call now, first of all. So, hi, please share your name and the message as well, or the question.
Yes, hi, my name is Kumar. The question is, with this litigation, if the court rules in the favor, will it only go towards the plaintiffs or all the H1 and the H4s?
Nice question. Nice question. So Kumar's question is, will this go in the favor of the specific plaintiffs who are filing this case, or it'll be for everybody, blanket?
It will be for the specific plaintiffs in the case. So we're not doing it as a class action. Okay. We're doing it as a mass action. And the reason for that is the class action takes a very, very long time to determine who is eligible for the benefit of the case. So if we were to do a class, it may take 6 months to a year before you get any relief. If you do it as individual plaintiffs, named plaintiffs in a case, if we win the case, they send that list over to the State Department and say, schedule these people for interviews now.
Okay.
So that's why we're going this route. Now, if we win the first round, it becomes much easier to file a subsequent case and, get relief for more people later on. But litigation takes time. So the fastest way to get, potential way to get relief is to join the suit the first round.
Interesting. Thank you. Thanks for the question. Thank you. Okay, that's interesting. So in this case, if you win the case, then another segment of people can come and reach out to you, and the case would be settled on the same parameter as the other judgment came. The first judgment would have come, right? That's how it works.
So we would get the first judgment, and then if we were successful, we could file a second case, but it would take the same amount of time to get relief. So the first round of plaintiffs ideally will get relief, within 2 months from now. And then after that 2 months, if we filed another case, the second round of plaintiffs would get relief in another 2 months. So it would be into December or January by the time they would really get some benefit on the second or third rounds. Right.
Interesting. But from that perspective, I think maximum people should come right now with their case, with their situation, and connect with you or the people who are, the litigation attorneys, and take it up right away. Because if they do it now, they're saving up on time, and this multiple cases, multiple situation will give a better leverage to the judge to decide, okay, this is what it is happening. It's a similar segment of people coming in and similar situation, similar problem, apparently, right?
Yeah, and that's been our strategy for all of our cases, actually, which is if we bring a whole bunch of cases from individual plaintiffs that are impacted by a government policy,
Mm-hmm.
you show the court how widespread the problem is. Because if you're a judge sitting in your bench listening to a case and it's only one person complaining, they may think it's an isolated incident. They may think it's not a big problem. But when you roll into court and you've got 400 plaintiffs, then the court can see, wait a second, this is an issue. This is something that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of cases coming in. Of course, there was a sad story that one of the peers shared, speaking, saying is that, I mean, he was in the country, he had to go out to India for a certain thing. He was accompanied by his kid, and the kid had apparently aged out. I mean, they were waiting for the green card for many years here.
Mm-hmm.
And that aged out kid had come on OPT. And after OPT, applied for the H1B, you know. And then the H1B kid was in India with the parent, primary parent. And situation is both are stuck. The kid lost the job, the H1B holder lost his job because, as we say, that clients cannot, I mean, the company cannot keep paying them if they're outside the country for long, right? He lost the job. And sorry state is they have waited for many years to get their green card in this country. And now is the fate, they're stuck. Mm-hmm. Now, my another question corresponding to this is when we speak about discrimination, when we speak about Indians being tortured the most. Now, this is happening with the green card backlog as well, if you see, John. Mm-hmm. Now, the situation is there are almost 600,000 plus people in the green card backlog waiting, and this wait is for 100 plus years to get their green cards because the numbers are not available. The green cards are not available because they only barely give you 5,800 EB2, EB3 category green cards every year, which is barely nothing for Indians, as you say, as the number is, as the inflow is in the country. Now, apparently there are separate categories like family-based or another based categories where the visa numbers are lying idle. The USCIS is having, or the DHS has those visa numbers available, unused green cards, which are to the tune of 200 to 300K. And those numbers would have been given to these 600K people and their families to get, you know, they would have gotten their green cards by now. And they would have been citizens. Most of them would have been US citizens as well by now. Only because of this disparity where this 7% cap comes for every country and India gets a peanut there, you know, as compared to the number of people coming in from India. This is miserable. Now, if people are saying we don't want Indians here, too many Indians will come, as Senator Dick Durbin had been saying also, that if the bill S386, which is there in the Senate to do away with the 7% country cap comes in, then we will see a lot of Indians here. But are they not aware? We are already here. I mean, this category of people is already here and here for last decades, many decades, 10 years, 15 years, 18 years. Now, should not there be a ground to litigate on this ground where we speak about the situation of disparity, this discrimination, and some justice should be done to these people who are in forever wait. And that's how this fate, they're meeting right now. They went to India after whatever years and have got stuck now during COVID. They would have been citizens by now. Anybody born in any other country is a citizen and has brought in their family members as well.
Yeah. So the way the US law is structured, if the statute, in this case, the 7% cap is statutory, it's created by Congress, mm-hmm. which means that it's very, very, very difficult to invalidate in court. And I don't think you really could invalidate that in court because it's not specifically targeting Indians. It was created at a time when they were just trying to create diversity of immigration. So I don't think you can invalidate the 7% rule in statute. Hopefully they could do something with it through new law and new legislation.
The legislation is not coming anywhere, John. Our target is to recapture, to get this 200K numbers which are lying idle. Can we not capture them? Can this not be shifted, unused visa number, to this category of green card backlog people?
So there is provisions in law to reallocate unused visas to different categories. Mm-hmm. And where this gets interesting is both the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security are not terribly good at publishing records and publishing data related to this. So it would require a lot of advanced work in order to do this suit. It would require a lot of what's called a Freedom of Information Act request, where you request the government turn over documents in its possession related to this issue and track through all these documents to see what is actually happening with these visa numbers. And if you can establish that these visa numbers are not being allocated as required by law, then I think there's a really good case.
Excellent. I mean, there is a ray of hope in this case. This means the litigation can happen. I mean, there is a ray of hope. At least some hope we need right now. There's no hope for them otherwise. Basically, that's the problem.
Yeah, I think that's really the route to attack that is start building the case through document requests from the government. And then if you've got the data to support it, I think that's a good case. And those people that have been waiting for a very long time for the green card would immediately benefit.
Perfect. Thank you. And another question in this line would be for the H4 people who were on EADs. So what has happened is, first of all, H1B, the primary, when they apply for their H1B and if it goes into premium, they get their visa in 10 to 15 days, maximum 15 days time, right? But the secondary, that is the dependent H4s, their process takes a lot of time. First of all, they introduce new thing that is biometrics. And the biometrics themselves are taking at least 2 to 3 months. Now, with COVID coming into picture, USCIS was closed. So biometrics themselves didn't happen. There were people who were working. They started working after 8-9 years, I mean, some H4s, some is the story, says such is the story, 2015, they started working. Now the stop comes where they have to wait. Now, employers don't wait for these resources to come back. Basically, they know they will not come back in another 5-6 months. So now they're talented, qualified, as you spoke about H4 category, H4 EADs, that they are contributing financially to the country. Is there any ground, any legal route where a request should be placed, either that the biometrics can be waived off, or I don't know what can be done exactly, or any other route to expedite it?
So on the expedite, definitely. And we've been working on that. You can sue the government for what's called an unreasonable delay in the processing of applications. What we're also working on right now is a case challenging the biometrics requirement and the way they're doing it, because there is a much more efficient way. The government already has quite a bit of biometric data on everybody who's come into the country as a non-immigrant or immigrant.
Right.
But they've already got this data in their possession. So the process of regathering the data seems more aimed at harassment or delay than it does at accomplishing a legitimate government purpose. So that's one of the things that one of our attorneys is really focusing in on right now.
Okay. Interesting. So you have already started off there. That's interesting to know. So if somebody has to reach out to you to expedite their EADs or this biometrics hassle, so they can reach out to you for that?
Yeah, we were routinely, before COVID, we were doing a lot of H4 unreasonable delay cases, H4 EAD. With COVID, things kind of changed a little bit because with the government shutting down or not, being at work, what constitutes an unreasonable delay in the court's eyes is a little different. So now as operations are starting to get back to normal, we're going to start bringing those suits again.
Okay, perfect. That's nice. Good to know. And sometimes people fear that taking a litigation route might blacklist them somewhere in the USCIS records. And it might be a trouble for their green card processing later on. Please clarify there. Please give your inputs.
So I've worked in the government. I've worked in the part of the government defending the agency in court, and I've actually worked for USCIS, which handles these records. So not only is it illegal for the government to retaliate, it's almost impossible for them to actually do it. So if you realize how inept USCIS is in terms of tracking data, they really could do well by hiring a bunch of Indian IT professionals to fix their data problem, because they don't really have an efficient or capable way of tracking data about one person through the life cycle of their immigration process. Everything is done by paper. So when you have a non-immigrant visa petition, that's in a paper file. And as soon as they make a decision on that, it goes to some archive in a cave in Arkansas, a literal cave where they hide all these documents. And it's never seen again. So when you file your next H1, your next non-immigrant visa, same thing. When you file a green card petition, an immigrant visa petition, then they start keeping all of the documents related to your green card in that file, but not your non-immigrant file. So they don't combine your non-immigrant visas documents with your immigrant visa. So they're two totally separate things, two totally separate sets of files that don't overlap.
But
so,
God forbid if they overlap, then what happens?
Well, if they overlapped, you would have a immigrant file that you would have to wheel in with a cart because there'd be so many pages. You know, by the time somebody actually adjusts status, they've had like 10 H1B extensions or transfers, and the volume of information would be overwhelming, and they just wouldn't deal with it. Which is why they don't combine the files. It would just be overwhelming. So the only way, when I was in the government, if there was a company or a law firm that sued a lot, we remembered them because the amount of work that litigation takes is substantial. And it was aggravating, but it didn't lead anybody to want to retaliate. What it led people to do is treat them very cautiously and give them better treatment than
wow, really? So you mean to say when companies litigate too much, they get a good treatment, that the USCIS officers are cautious there?
Yeah, so in the IT Serve Alliance case that we won recently, we had a large number of companies that had approval rates in like the 10% in that 1 year. We filed suit on those. The next cap year that came around, they had nearly 100% approval rates. While their peers were their peer companies were still getting really hammered. So that, you know, more anecdotal evidence that what me and my partners observed while we were working in the government is actually happening. You get treated better with more deference if you stand up and cause them a lot of pain. Interesting
to know all this, John, because when we speak about the word litigation, I mean, people have that mindset. They feel number of years and months going, into the wait. Then the money flowing away. How much money to pour in? They don't know exactly how much money gets wasted, or what is the guarantee. And then, of course, the fear of making the administration your enemy. So this clarification coming from you, as you have already worked for the government before, earlier days, is very assuring, and gives confidence to people to fight for their rights, basically.
Yeah.
That is something.
That's true. And you make a good point about the money. Like, litigation tends to be very expensive. I mean, if you've ever hired an attorney that works on a billable hour rate, every time you send an email, you've just wasted a couple $100.
Absolutely.
So because of the expense in litigation and the uncertainty, a lot of times, we always do everything at a flat rate because it's much more effective, and it gives you predictability on the client side of what you're going to need to plan or budget for. So it's just a one-time, on this case, what we're doing is just a one-time, one charge per family unit of $2,500. And that is, you won't be billed anything else. That will be everything for the litigation.
Quite reasonable. For $2,500 for the whole family, right? So it's the husband, wife, or kid, whoever's there, it's got stuck, gets covered.
Yeah.
Nice. And then, of course, there are many people joining in. So, of course, that will cement the case, make a better foundation for you to represent.
Yeah. And, by having a whole bunch of plaintiffs together, we can lower the price of litigation significantly.
Any number that you estimate if there are more numbers coming? Generally, I want to have an idea. What kind of numbers are you looking at? Of course, Mana TV will definitely would like to help our audience in case they want to connect with Attorney Jonathan Wasden. You can reach us directly as well, and you can share your story with us. We will always connect you with the right people, as we always say. So we will be able to connect, you people to John. Other than that, of course, John has his details and everything, contact information, and the form that he shared. You can follow that as well. So we personally take a responsibility there, to do the right things for people. And it's about fighting for the right cause, nothing bad. John, and regarding this new proclamation again about international students as well, do you foresee, of course, the litigation has happened. Any insights on this current litigation that Harvard University has gone ahead with? They're suing the administration about this international students ban. So, we will try our best to connect the cards, basically, John. Now, about this international university thing, the students, they might have to leave if the universities go on online, of course, if that transition happens. So, I heard that Harvard is suing them right today. Any inputs on that? Do you have any news?
Yeah, so Harvard and MIT both are suing them. And there's a Forbes article that came out today that I'm quoted in on that case.
Mm-hmm.
That lawsuit is interesting because it's focusing on the revocation of a government policy or rule. And recently, you may recall the DACA case, where the Obama administration had created the DACA program. The Trump administration just came in and killed the DACA program, and there was litigation that followed, and the Trump administration ultimately lost that case. And they lost the case because there's a way that the government can go and change their policy or change their rules, and they didn't follow the correct procedure. The case by Harvard and MIT has a similar theme to it. The government didn't follow its required procedures to revoke this benefit, the waiver process. And also that they were supposed to go through rulemaking. And they're also alleging that the waiver that was created back in March, allowing people to do all online classes in F1 status,
mm-hmm.
created what's called a reliance interest, that people acted in reliance on that waiver and took certain economic activity that they will be harmed by now that they can't stay in the country. So it's really three different bases in that case. I think all three of them are interesting issues. I think they've got a good case. I'll be interested to see how it turns out.
Interesting. Thank you for those inputs. Of course, when it is all about litigation, we want to hear from every angle how everybody is coming together, from one side of the stories of students, international students, then the non-immigrants, of course, these high-skilled immigrants, basically. And of course, third would be in line would be the green card backlog people joining the bandwagon to claim their green cards where they have been in the wait line for last 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
Because when the trust goes away, when the trust in the Congress is fading away, that's where the route comes for these litigations. Nobody wants to go and fight. Nobody in this world wants to go fight, get defamed themselves, or get into a tussle where they risk their future. But this is happening for once in this country, which is a land of the free, a land of the brave, the land of the immigrants. And the problem is, the message, apparently, the correct message is not going to the President of the United States of America. There are people in the administration who are blocking the right information. There are people who are having some agenda with a particular race. That should not have happened. For Indians, have a record of being the most peaceful people in the world. India is a country which has never invaded any country in the whole world. These are the people, the largest numbers of engineers and doctors get produced from India. The great innovations, whether in medicine, whether in science and technology, have happened through Indians. There are many, many CEOs of the organizations who are Indians today, who are in America, on American soil, be it Google, be it any other company. Then why such a hate? Why such a disparity? And why do we need to fight legal cases? That is the question that rests with us, and we need answer from our honorable President Trump. The administration should ease something, basically. And you as the legal facility, John, people like you are playing a very important role in this situation today. I want a message from you, John, before we leave for today, for this session, we'll end it. What would you like to convey to these people? All those people, whether they're on H4s or H1s or waiting for the EADs or the green card, what is your strong say there?
So for a long time, the feeling, especially in the Indian community in the US, was that there was no point in suing the government because the government would always win. And there was also the fear of litigation, like they would create a stigma. What we've seen is that both of those assumptions have been pretty solidly refuted. That in the US, the way the laws are set up, you can sue, you can prevail when the government's doing something wrong. And it's just a matter of, getting your case heard in court. And there's no negative repercussions for you whatsoever. There's no problem and there's no backlash on you for asserting your rights and trying to fight for yourself. Because if you don't fight for yourself, nobody else is gonna. So if you're in this country and you're being harmed by the government in a way that is illegal, you've got options and you should exercise those options.
Thank you so much, John, for your precious time today. Thank you for guiding the masses, and we definitely will connect the right chords. We will help out the people who have got stranded in India. You can reach out to Mana TV. You can reach out to me personally. You can write to me, jyotsna@manatv.net. So it's JYOTSNA@manatv.net. You can reach out to me, write your story. If you need help, if you're stranded in India, we will connect you with Attorney Jonathan Wasden, and that is the best we can do right now. Time is of essence. Take your prompt action, and your prompt actions will save your time, your future, your career, and everything which is right here in this country right now. We wish you all the very best. And John, thank you so much for your wonderful time today.
Thank you, Jyotsna.
Appreciate it. And my dear viewers, we'll come back with another sessions, more empowering sessions, more enriching sessions to keep you informed and educated. John will come again, of course, to speak on different things that would be happening when John would go into the litigation, how the things are proceeding. I will again call John to get updates from him, and not just John, many other lawyers who would be joining the bandwagon to sue the government regarding this current situation of these proclamations and the bans on the immigrant visa, non-immigrant visas. So we will keep you posted about each and everything. Just keep watching Voice of Legal Immigrants at Mana TV, Mana TV International. Stay blessed, stay strong. God bless you. Thank you so much. Good night.